So you voted against the change to the constitutional amendment process. I thank you personally for that. I'm thanking you publicly for voting against it. Can you explain to the audience the change that was made and why it's bad?
Sure, yeah, thank you for the question. So sometimes the legislature doesn't really adhere, in my opinion, to the will of the people.
Yeah.
And I'm being polite. I'm being polite. And so when they don't, the only recourse, other than a traditional election and voting folks out of office, where we all know the power of incumbency, we all know how the process works, and we all know when one party gets to control the maps, what that means. And so the only recourse that individuals have is to put something on the ballot to go on to the state constitution, Florida's constitution. And so we have, over the years, the threshold that you had to pass a measure by in order for it to go onto the Constitution has changed, right? It was simple majority to 60%. Now, what's the new number? 63 1/3 or 66, right? So increasing it even higher, because they use the argument that, well, it should be really, really difficult to put something in the Constitution, but there are some really good things that we can pass, that we have passed, medical marijuana being one, as a thought, and yet. Some folks in the legislature don't like that. They don't like the fact that they can be told what to do by the people through the state constitution. And look, candidly, I would say an even, bigger issue, but certainly more as problematic is the fact that when we do put something into the Constitution, who has the ability generally to implement that law? The legislature, which is part of why you've seen a snail's pace on things like medical marijuana, on other things. I think there will be recreational. I know there's a movement to put abortion on the ballot. So there are certainly ballot initiatives, but the problem with increasing that threshold is it's just making it more difficult, right? We keep moving the goalposts because we don't like the results, and that's not the way that this process should work. Thank you for the question. Yes?
My name's Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
I'm a teacher, so I could probably monopolize the entire hour.
Thank you for being a teacher.
My question was more about the homeowners piece, the insurance. Where are you collectively, obviously?
Yeah.
Where are we, what if anything is coming our way to help us?
Yeah, and first and foremost, I know I said thank you for being a teacher, and it's been a very difficult time for several years now to be a teacher in Florida, and it's candidly getting worse. And the $1,000 bonus here or something, that's not cutting it, in my opinion. And but to the homeowners insurance, look, we did pre-election, pre last November, the legislature did this whole song and dance. We hear you. We're going to come in and fix this issue. We did nothing of any real substance. Have your rates gone down?
No.
Have you been able to find an additional provider?
No.
No. So what happened was that that bill passed, so that allowed them to run around the state and campaign and say, look, we did something, we fixed it, right? And it was what, a month before the election, a month and a half before the election, so there was really not going to be any showing and telling at that point, so you really didn't know for sure, right? Then we go through the election, we go into another session, and we pass what I think, and I voted against it, is just a massive handout to the insurance company, right? I think there has to be balance. I think balance in any bill, any piece of legislation is a positive thing. If you don't like it, and I don't like it, and you don't like it, and you don't like it, it's probably a good thing, right? And when I say you, I mean like the collective interests, not us, the individual citizen, right? And so for me, the pendulum swung a little bit too far. They did things like, again, guys, it's been a long day, so I can't remember the exact term, but it's basically the nuclear verdicts, right? You're not allowed to give a nuclear verdict because that's what's driving up rates. But it's not. There was 4 or 5 in the last 2 years in the state of Florida, right? That I'd say nuclear verdict, I mean, it's just a massive amount of money that the insurance company has to pay out. That's not what's driving up rates. The insurance companies will continue to say, well, it's litigation. So I said, okay, cool. I'm a facts and numbers guy. How many claims have been filed? We can't tell you, trade secret. How many suits have been filed? We don't know. How many suits have been settled? How many claims have been settled? Again, we don't know. So for me, if we're going to do this massive handout, then at least get something on the back end for the consumer. Get the transparency, get some reporting mechanism that says, hey, we wanna see if what you sold us is correct. If you're saying that litigation is driving up the cost of property insurance, then show me that the changes we're making is leading to less litigation. In my opinion, what it's gonna do, and yeah, sure, you have bad actors. You have bad actors that are going around selling roofs and did you know you can get a free roof because there's a single crack, right? But that's the extreme example. But what about the sweet little old lady that can't afford to fill to get a new roof, right? Because of hurricane damage, legitimate hurricane damage, and when she filed her claim, the insurance company continued to drag their feet until it exacerbated the problem. And at least you used to have the protection of attorney's fees provisions that incentivized an attorney to take that case and bring that case, and we've taken that away. So if we're really gonna do this, then at least do me a favor and give me some sort of transparency, give me some sort of understanding that this is actually fixing the problem. Oh, and by the way, the changes that they did make are supposed to show some sort of decrease in premiums over the next 2 to 3 years. You guys wait that long? Because I have constituents that can't. The changes to the attorney's fees, the nuclear verdict, and I think I'm still calling it the wrong term, but I'll find it for you and look it up. And a number of other changes. They said that there was increased transparency in there, but they're not required to actually release the information. It's still shielded because of trade secrets, and they don't want their competitors to see the number of claims and all this other nonsense. So in my estimation, I don't think it's gonna help. I don't think it's a step in the right direction. And I think people, candidly, excuse my language, are pretty pissed about it. And they need to be, and they should be. And these folks that are in the majority should continue to hear about it until we actually do something. The pendulum swung way too far, in my opinion, in this last legislative session. And it has to come back the other way.
And it's for me, it's a cyclical, global, whatever kind of problem you wanna say, because you can't make a fair wage, you can't make a decent living, you can't afford to live in Broward County. I mean, as a teacher with 2 kids, I qualify for free reduced lunch. I mean, I could get government assistance with 2 college degrees, right? And that's just me, that's not including,
Sure.
People with other degrees or just in Broward County alone, right? So then if you can't make a wage, you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your homeowner's insurance, you can't pay rent. So where do you guys in Tallahassee come in to save us?
Yeah.
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 Cause we're waiting.
There's no white horse.
There isn't. And that is part of my, and I touched on it in my opening comments, that is part of my frustration, right? We only have 60 days. If we don't pass it in those 60 days, that's it. It's done. Our only job as a legislature is to pass a budget. That's it. Right? Sometimes we can't even do that. And sometimes I wish it was all we do, because the legislation that we do is not always designed to help Floridians. And it goes back to some of the hot button ones that I touched on earlier, instead of addressing things like seriously addressing property insurance. Here, you wanna know the solution to the property insurance crisis? You sit the trial bar down with the insurance providers and say, you're not leaving this room until y'all hash it out. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen because one of those groups gives a heck of a lot more money than the other one does, and that's unfortunate.